Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming in. So, we're just gonna keep going with our floor plan. Last time we left off, I believe we were somewhere here. We had made it all the way around the perimeter of the drawing. We had offset, or maybe I did this, I'm not sure if I did it with you, I'm sure I did some of it. We had offset the thickness of some of the walls. Again, the walls along the perimeter of the home are using the 2x6 size pieces of wood, and the walls along the perimeter of the garage on the exterior are only 2x4s. So I'm just going to flip to the example drawing here to show you what I mean. If I zoom in here, this describes the layering of the house wall type construction. So 90 millimeter face brick. Once again, please ignore this. There is no concrete block in that wall. 25 airspace, 25 insulation, 13 plywood, 140 wood studs, and then this spray foam is inside of, like, in the same thickness as the studs, so it doesn't count, and then 16 millimeter drywall. The other wall construction is described over here. So 90, 25, 10, or I guess 3/8 inch plywood, 10 millimeters, 89 millimeter wood studs, and 16 drywall. So that's the width of the entire wall that I've offset here, and here it's offset in more detail. So it's the 90 millimeter face brick, 25 airspace, 25 insulation, plywood, 2x6, and drywall. So what I'm going to quickly do is just copy this structure to the rest of these corners, and you can do this kind of the slow way or the fast way. There's no wrong method, but just to show you how I would do it, I'm going to go quite quickly. And again, this is all in the recording, so you don't have to worry if you don't get it on the first try. So what I did right now is I just typed in copy, and I'm going to pick these lines. I'm going to go down to the corner here, grab that as my base point. I'm just going to be you have to be accurate, and it's okay that you're a little bit messy at the same time. Let me just check to make sure this distance is correct. 16, yeah. So accurate in terms of making sure the lines all align with the thicknesses you want, but it can be messy in terms of what projects beyond, because we're going to clean that up. So then I'm going to type in mirror. And this can be a little bit tricky on your first try, but what I'm going to do is grab all of those lines and mirror it on a 45-degree angle, like this. And if my computer doesn't freeze, it will work. Still waiting here. Doesn't look good. Oh wait, sorry, down here. Mirror, erase source object, no. So then I get this, and then I can extend these lines to here. And again, if I'm moving too fast for you here, don't worry. Just kind of do what you can on the exterior walls. For this lesson, even if you just offset the general thickness of it, from here to here, it's fine. I trust you can fill in the details later. It's kind of like once you do it once, you know how to do it. So I'm going to mirror here again. And again. And just to kind of show you what I'm going to do, with before I go all the way around doing this strategy, it may not be clear why I'm doing it, so I'm just going to pause for a second, clean it up a bit. So down here I can use the trim command and just kind of lop all of these off. Over here I'm going to use the fillet, so I'm going to type in F-I-L-L-E-T, fillet, radius, make sure it's set to 0, and then I'm going to click multiple, and it lets me clean up multiple corners at once. I'm just going to slowly work my way through all of these corners. Okay, once I've got that, I can use the trim command to sort of cut out where the windows will be and end up with a nice clean edge. So now I'm just going to kind of use this strategy to get around the whole house. Here I'm just extending all the way till I get to a corner, then I will mirror. Now here I'm at the other end of the house, so the wall type will change because I'm at the garage. So I'm going to leave that for a second and finish up the rest of the house walls. So I've made it around the house walls, so I'm just going to do, like I mentioned, the same thing with the slightly different makeup for the garage walls. So 90, 25, 10, 89, 16.
So did you say we were doing something specific for the connections between the garage and the wall doors, or the walls?
So right, sorry, excuse me. This is the house wall.
Yeah.
So as it comes in and turns into the garage wall, it changes its makeup a little bit. So the brick stays the same, the airspace stays the same, but there's no rigid insulation layer between it. The plywood is slightly thinner. The studs are 89 instead of 140, and the gypsum on the inside is the same. So it's just the wall makeup just changes a little bit once you take this corner, and it goes all the way around and it changes back once you hit right here. Okay, so even if you're not quite done thickening out all of the walls, as long as you understand the process by which we're doing it, I think you're okay. I trust you can do that, when you have a moment. But what I'd like to show you how to do next is how to set up the windows. So we'll take a moment and we'll really slowly, in detail, we'll do 1 or 2 windows, and then we'll kind of speed up and do the rest as well. But I just want you guys to see how a window, so you don't waste too much time on it, how we can do a window. So let's just see how they illustrate them in the drawing so we can kind of stylistically mimic what they do. Okay, so it looks like it's about, usually the way you would draw something like this rectangle here would be about 50 by 150. This would be about 50 by 50, and we connect it with a bunch of lines to connect to the other side. And here it looks like they thicken it out a little bit past the wall to show the window ledge. And this just ends up being congruent with the drywall on the inside edge. And once we draw one of these window frames, we can just we flip it, mirror it to the other side, connect the lines. And once you have one window, the ends of it stay the same. It's just the line lengths between it vary. For a longer window, you stretch the middle lines. For a shorter window, you compress it. And so it's just a way of making your life easier. So I'm gonna show you what I mean here. I'm gonna switch to, wonder if we have a glazing. We do, glazing right there. And so I'm just gonna design it, not really in the right location. I'm just gonna draw what I think it is. So at 150 by 50, that looks about right. Then I'm going to draw that other square, which I assume to be 50 by 50. Okay, there we go. And I'm just going to move them together like that.
So repeat.
Should I repeat that? Okay, no problem. So let's delete these guys. Okay, rectangle at 150, comma 50. And then I'm just going to hit enter to repeat the command. I don't have to click the rectangle again. Click anywhere and go at 50 by 50. And now I just want to move this rectangle, so the middle of it lines up with the middle of this one. Now our next decision we have to make, and it doesn't have to be super exact, but we want it to be, consistent, is where do we line that big rectangle up? And it looks like it's not really landing on anything in specific. It's kind of landing in the middle of that insulation layer, which would make sense. Because if that mullion, as we call this rectangle, the mullion, it can bridge over the frame of the window. It's designed to be an insulated unit. So if we can have it sit on top of that insulation layer, it means that it will not, the cold will stay on the cold side and the warm will stay on the warm side. We won't be creating a thermal bridge between those two. So what I will do is I'd like to find the middle of my insulation layer. So this is it right here, and I know that it's 25 across from here to here. So I'm going to offset 12.5 to find the middle. Okay, I'm going to extend it a little, or you know what, I'll put it on the glazing layer just so it's easier to see. And now I'm going to move my frame to line up with that. And then I can delete that temporary line. Okay, I can do that again. So what I've done is I offset, let me go back a bit. Okay, so here, this is my insulation layer. This is basically my studs, my plywood, and here's my insulation, and here's my airspace. So the insulation layer is 25 millimeters wide, so I'm going to offset by 12.5. Because what I want to do is find the middle of that insulation layer. Right here. And then I'm just going to grab my frame, window frame or mullion, and center it on that point. If you have trouble doing that, you can eyeball it. I mean, as long as the frame straddles this gap, you're pretty much okay. Now, for the next step, since we drew a line for every window, we have a line that's exactly the right length of the window. Our life is a little bit easier here, so what we can do is we can click mirror, or type mirror, grab these two rectangles that we drew, and mirror them over the center line of that window. And now, just like in the drawing, I have lines, so I have a line at the corner of the rectangle going all the way, corner of the rectangle going all the way, and 3 lines of that little square, so the edges of the square and the center line. And what these 3 lines represent are the double pane, should be double pane, I don't know why there's not that many lines, but it should be a double pane window. And these 2 lines are just the bottom frame that you see from the top view. It's the metal at the bottom of the window. So I'll show you what I mean. So this rectangle continues along the bottom and the top. It's a frame, right? So what I'm going to do is just take a line and draw it. And copy it to the other side. So now the window frame, I can see the bottom of the window frame as well. And then I'm going to take 3 lines and draw them in here. And that's going to represent the glass sitting inside of the frame, like so. For the purpose of this drawing, this doesn't, I mean, you don't have to draw it precisely the way I drew it. What matters is that it looks, and there's still more. We're going to put a few more lines in here to show the inner ledge and outer sill of the window, but what matters is it looks approximately like the window in the same in the example drawing, or so it looks like a window. And the other thing that matters is the distance from here to there, so that we know the exact width of the window. That's it. Stylistically, however you draw this, you kind of have some degree of freedom. As long as it looks like a window, it's fine. Okay? So, back to our example here. It looks like this outside line is offset a little bit proud, a little bit jutting out from the face of the brick. My guess is 20 millimeters, something like that. You know, you can guess something else, doesn't matter. You're free to choose whichever size you want. I'm going to pop it out just a little bit, and that represents the window sill, the slightly sloped part that water drips off of. And from here to here, this is probably going to be drywall, a drywall ledge or a little wooden ledge or something that you can put potted plants on, or I don't know, whatever you want. And it's just in line with the drywall. So I'm going to add those two lines. So this line, I'm going to move outwards by 20 millimeters. And I'm going to copy it to here. And then I'm going to draw a line enclosing the whole thing. And that's a window. So once you get one of them, your life gets a little bit easier, because now what I can do is copy it, all of it, and I can move it around to where I need it to go. So what I'm going to do now, I guess what I could do, I'm going to go in order. So I'm going to put it down here, rotate it 90 degrees, and then fit it into that gap that I have over there. That didn't really rotate the way I wanted it to. So I'm going to try negative 90. That's what I wanted. Here I'm going to save myself a bit of effort, I think, because this window is 1575 and this window I think is also 1575. So I don't have to modify it in any way. I can just copy them directly. I'm gonna change the window a little bit for the garage. I just copied my window and it's really popping out a lot. Because the wall thickness of the house is wider, so what I'm gonna do here is just remove everything and so this only pops like 20 millimeters. So I'm gonna keep it consistent the other way. Remove it 20. And then I'm going to trim up the inside. Okay, now once you have, hopefully you guys have managed to do one or two of those. Once you know how to do that, I trust again that you know how to do the whole thing. The bay window I'm gonna leave for now. I think actually under lecture 8 or 7 there's an artifact file. I have to explore it, but I think it is the bay window already drawn for us. So we'll just pop that in next class. If it isn't, then I'll draw it and we'll just pop it in as a copy paste. So we have this. We can focus on doing doors and garage doors and stuff like that, but I'm going to leave that for a second because we kind of have the exterior blocked out. And the doors, once we start drawing the interior doors, we'll be able to copy those to the outside. There's not a whole lot of stylistic difference between an exterior and interior door. So, in essence, we have the exterior drawn out. We're missing 2 doors, front door and back door, and 2 garage doors, but we will put those in later. The bay window we're going to put in as a block later on. And now we're ready to start kind of carefully offsetting towards the inside of the house to find the interior walls. And this is really the last major step we have to do. Because if you look at our example, essentially we've gotten all of the heaviest lifting, so to speak, is done. We've done the difficult task, or relatively difficult task, of drawing the exterior and making sure the ends meet. That is the main source of time loss at the end of the drawing that I find most people have. You come to the end of the drawing, you've got all your, people are kind of drawing the notation, the walls and everything as they go from sort of left to right or right to left. And they get to one side and then they're like, oh my God, it doesn't fit. And they have to start moving everything back and forth, and it takes a lot of time. So sorry. It's my son, so I'm gonna have to call him in a second. But we've done that, and now basically we're ready to start offsetting in. So I'm sorry, it's gonna take 2 minutes. My son is calling me for some reason, so it must be urgent. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna start looking at these numbers here and start offsetting from the outside in. And we'll have to make some decisions. So for instance, 3011 may not exactly line up with that corner. And if that's the case, we will probably align the wall to the corner, even if that number is a little bit different. So here we'll start using our own judgment. But the errors will be always very, very small because we already have the outside fit correctly. So even if you have to make small judgment calls, there's no lost marks and no worries because the errors will be quite small. So if you can give me 2 minutes, I'll be right back. Sorry, I just have to grab this. Sorry about that, guys. Okay, so for example, I'll start offsetting inwards here. So we have this dining or dinette area. We think it's supposed to be 3011 millimeters to the 89 millimeter wood studs of this wall. So let's give it a shot. We're in here, and let me just see where they're taking that dimension from. They're taking it from the wood studs to the wood studs. So offset 3011 from here to there, offset 89, and it actually aligns really well. Okay, that usually doesn't happen, but if it didn't, I would make it align to the corner. So in this case, it worked well. So once I have, and you kind of have to slowly, this is where you need to think a little bit on how to attack these walls and figure out how big they are, because now we have the location of this wall, but we don't know how long it is. Can they give that to us? Not really. The only way to figure that part out is to start building the kitchen, because we know that it ends. Let me go out here a little bit. We know that this hook occurs here, and then we know that this hook aligns with this wall, and then we know the distance to this wall, and then from there we know the distance to there. So we kind of have to construct these walls and some of the openings to get to the end of this wall. So it's a little bit, as you can see, it's a bit tied together, but that's always how plans are dimensioned out. So we're gonna, in this case, I think we just slowly start progressing, and once you get used to laying these walls out, that's the last piece of the puzzle. Then we end up with the entire floor plan, and from there, the next lesson, so next week, will be kind of an extension of what we've already done before. We'll be adding some notes, adding some dimensions, few room labels, door tags, things like that. So you know, the idea of putting text in a circle to give it a window tag is a little bit different, but you already know how to do text and you know how to do a circle. So the differences will become smaller and smaller compared to your previous drawing. So I'm just going to get going here and slowly start laying these out. So from this wall, from the wood in this wall to what looks like, it's a strange way of dimensioning it, but what looks like this piece of this nook right here is 2087. So what I'm going to do is go over here, offset 2087, and make sure I do it from the stud wall out. And I'm going to extend this further this way. I don't know exactly where that nook is, so I just want it to be a sort of a temporary line that tells me it's this. Now the width of that is a 2x6, as we can tell, because it's 140 millimeters instead of 89. So offset 140. Now from that nook to this second wall here is 1596. And the width of that wall is 89. And then from that wall it's 1387 and 89 again. So offset 89, 1387, and 89 one more time. Now this last 89 should get us to right here. To this wall, and that wall is in line with this wall. So this should finally give us the corner here, which is nice, but now we don't know how long this stub wall is. Oh no, we do. It's 600. So I'm gonna do fillet. Oops, not fill, fillet. Now we know that from the wood to the end of the wall is 600. Offset 600. And how wide is that hallway? That gives us that as well. It's 1489. Offset 1489. And now I should be able to cut it. So I'm going to extend first and trim. Okay. I think it was 1489 right here. And so now, since I've gotten myself, I'm just going to kind of be opportunistic, and I've got this wall figured out, and I got up to this corner, so I'm going to slowly start drawing from here this way and work my way through those walls. As long as it looks like it. Yeah, just bump it up. Now, we just got to the first, we kind of have this room block up here. And again, this is on the video, so feel free to go back and slow it down if you want. But we need to insert our first door right in here. And I'll show you what it looks like on the drawing. So this door in here. Now if I zoom in on it, it's a bit unusual, this door. The door is drawn the normal way. The door itself is fine. But it's unusual because it aligns exactly with the wall. Usually you have a 50 millimeter, 100 millimeter look or stub wall, and then the door is inside of that. But we can go ahead and draw this door, and every door you draw the same way. So once you draw one, you know how to draw them all. And so the first thing I'm going to check, D104, how wide is this door? Because it doesn't give us a dimension. But if I zoom out and go to the door schedule, so D104 is 800 millimeters wide. So that's the rough opening. So that means that if I extend this line to here, and then I offset 800, and I trim, the door needs to fit into that opening. Okay, and this opening, once again, should be 800. Okay? Now, for a door, the first thing, the way I draw it, we'll go back to it. Where is it? Right in here. So I like to draw the frame of it first. Okay? So I'm going to make that frame 50 millimeters wide. And okay, so for the purpose of this example, I'm going to take one more. I'm going to jump ahead just a bit to make this work. How wide is this drywall? It doesn't tell us. Okay, I'm going to assume this is 1/2 inch drywall on the inside of these walls. So I'm going to offset it 12, or let's say 13. I'll round it. Okay, so there and there. It's a bit early to be putting drywall on these walls, but we want to make this example look right. So I'm going to put it on. And I'm just going to clean this up a little bit, like that. And I'm going to put a line across this there. Oops. Let's see if there's a door layer. I don't see. Oh, there we go. A door. Okay. So what I'm going to do is, if you have a wall like this, we want the door frame to kind of span the entire wall. In reality, it's going to be a door frame and a bit of molding and trim and stuff like that to clean it all up. But we're just going to draw it as a door frame that sits across the entire end of the wall. And so the first thing I'd like to figure out is how wide is this wall. So I'm going to check. It's 115. So I'm going to come in with a rectangle and go at 115, so the width of the wall, by 50. Okay, and then I'm going to copy that same rectangle to the other side. Now in this case, usually I'd have a stub wall that looks identical to this on the other side, but like I mentioned, in this case they have the door right in line with the wall, so the drywall would actually tuck in next to it like that. That's the only unusual thing about this door. Now the next thing I need to do is draw the door leaf, which is this one. It's called the door leaf. And now the opening was 800, but we have already taken up 50 on this side and 50 on this side, so the remaining space is going to be 700. So what I'm going to do is draw a rectangle from the bottom corner here that is at 700 by -50. So basically, don't follow me on what I'm about to do, but I just want to show you why it's that size. If I were to, for instance, take this and rotate it, it would exactly fit. Okay, that's the idea. You want it to exactly fit like that, like a real door would. And what you do then, grab a circle. I like to do it this way. I grab a circle and I start right at that intersection and I go up to here. And then I trim like that, and then come in here, up to here, and that's it. That's my door. Okay, that's on video. I'm going to upload it so you have it there. It's once you do it once or twice, maybe 3 times, you'll kind of get the hang of it. Some people, you know, the places I would always get stuck on as a student is like, oh man, I can't remember. Does this go to here or here? Or is the center of the circle here at this intersection or somewhere else over here? Or how big do I make this door leaf? Once you kind of do it 2 or 3 times, you'll understand the formula for it, and every door will be really easy. So we've done a door, and now again, I'm just going to slowly continue. I'm not going to do any more drywall. That's something you can leave till the very end. And if, you know, do it, I think, before you hand in the drawing, offset every wall a little bit just to show some finishes and drywall. But it's not, you know, it can be an afterthought. Yes?
As an interior layer, drywall?
It should be, yeah. I think I've just realized I've been drawing these interior walls on the exterior wall layer. So what I might do, except for the door, what am I doing here? I'm going to switch them to the interior wall layer. That would be the smart thing to do. Like that. And I'm just going to continue drawing walls. So now I've drawn this rectangle, and I know where this wall is. And so now I'd like to find out, so the distance from this wall, which I have, to this wall is 3035, and that one is 140 wide. So I'm going to come back here, offset 3035, make it 140. I have this, which goes up to here. $610.89. So 4, 3, 2. I know you probably aren't on the same exact spot as I am, but just if you could pause me there for a second, just to illustrate the way you would make a certain decision. So here, right now I'm drawing this little closet in here. And so I've drawn, right now I have it blocked off like this, but I don't know how long there's a little stub wall here, and a little stub wall here, and this is open between them. And I don't know how big those stub walls are, and on the drawing, it doesn't show me. And it shows me that this wall is 89 wide. It shows me that up to this corner, it gives me a dimension, but it doesn't tell me how wide this wall is and how much this is, and so I'm gonna guess. Okay, it's basically all it will need to change is the width of this opening, and since they don't give me that dimension, I'm gonna take the liberty and guess it myself. And since this wall, the way I would make that decision, and everyone can have a slightly different answer, it's okay, is since this is 89, it looks a little bit larger than that, so I'm going to say why not 100, okay? So I'm going to offset 100 in and 100 in, lock it off and call it a day. So you don't have, when you get to decisions like that, you don't have to get too concerned. If they don't give you the information, use your best guess. So I'm going to offset by 100 and trim. There, done. Sorry to interrupt you guys again. Just another small decision that has to be made here. So I just looked. Let me offset something here. There's just another small decision that I'd like to show you how I made. And I'm just setting it up here. Okay. So in the drawing, we just drew this door together, and so now I've gotten to this place here where I have another door. Now I looked it up, this door is 800 millimeters wide, just like this one. So I'm not going to draw it again from scratch. You can, but it takes more work to do that. So what I'm going to do instead is copy this door to here, and then I'm going to mirror it because the swing goes the other way. This one swings this way, this one swings this way. But to save some time, since they are the same width, I can do that. So I'm just going to say copy. To here, and it should fit perfectly. Oops, I missed, but I think it still fits. Okay, width-wise it fits. I haven't done the drywall yet, so I need to move it. I have to anticipate that and move it 13 up. Now it fits perfectly. And now what I need to do is draw a line from one side to the other so I have something to mirror it by. So I'm going to type mirror, select everything, pick the midpoint of that line that I drew, and flip it along that line. Okay? And that's an easy way to kind of reuse some of the work you've done so you don't have to draw stuff from scratch. And as you get into the nitty-gritty parts of the drawing, you go yes stuff right now. So don't trust yourself, don't worry. Without the decision. So two quick things. Sorry to interrupt you guys, and then I can kind of fool around and help anyone else who is interested. The floor plan is more or less complete with the walls. Again, all that's in the video, so feel free to follow for specific dimensions and stuff. And then there's an error that became apparent at the end. So I should have, if I was smart, I would have checked this at the beginning when I started laying the doors out, but I put an 800 wide door in this space that is 900. And I know it's 900 because we got this dimension for this opening from here. But the door 108 is 800. And so my expectation was that those numbers here are for the rough opening. That's what it normally would be. But for some reason they are giving us the specific size of the door leaf, not the door leaf and the frame. So what I need to do to fix that is now all of the doors that I have as 800 should actually be 900. So the way I would fix it is like this. Basically I would simply move this the full distance, but then I need to delete this, and instead of the leaf being 700, it will now be at 800 by 50, and then I do a circle, and oops, I messed up there, and then I can trim it up. So unfortunately, because of that mistake, I now have to go back and fix the size of all of my doors. And so when I come to that issue, so for instance here, let's say I have that issue, I'm not going to move. I know the door is anchored here. I've already decided that's going to be 100 millimeters. So what I would do then is just move it the other way. So move it this way by 100 and then correct the door as I showed you. So clean this part up from here, delete that, delete the door, and unfortunately I created a bit of extra work for us, so I'm sorry, but this is how you would correct it. So redrawing that circle, and once you correct the couple, you can start to copy them and paste them in. You can start to copy the correction rather than redrawing it, but that's how I would do it. And I would be mindful, so I should be careful now because I fixed this door. So maybe I should temporarily put it on a different layer so I don't get confused between the doors I fixed and the ones I didn't. So that's a good door. This is a good door. Although that door should be facing the other way. Mirror. I'm getting a bit sloppy here. I don't mean to. Okay, and this is on the wrong layer. I decided to make it red, the ones that are fixed. Again. And I would move this a little bit forward just so that mullion, that door frame overlaps the insulated layer. Okay, and so anyway, so I can slowly move through my drawing fixing my doors, and I'll do that right now so it's on the video. But we can leave it there for today. We've done quite a bit today. We've done all of the windows and exterior walls. We did all of the interior partitions, and once I correct the doors, all of the doors are correct as well. So that means that next class, we can focus on starting to add the notation and the dimensions and text and everything else. Now it is already the, what is it, the 4th today? 4th. So next week will be 11th, which is when the current due date is. So I'm going to extend the deadline by one more week. So we're going to get from the 11th to the 18th, okay? And that way we'll have next class to technically finish up and add all the detail, but you will still have the 18th to come in and work on it together with me. In case you have any last minute questions or something didn't work out, we can still troubleshoot together. Okay, question?
I have a question.
Okay, so So I'll be right there. I'm gonna pause the video here. If you have any questions, let me know. This is the extent to which we get this class. So I'm gonna stop the video so it doesn't